Hello, this is another demo of the storage redesign. We are still very early on in the design phase and figuring out and playing around what's going on. But I think I now made a little bit progress, at least for myself. Um, didn't see the forest for the trees, but now I think um, we have something to talk about. So let's go to the storage page. And if you're following along, you know that the first thing is that on the overview page, everything is in a big table now. This is a virtual machine that has one main disk here, which has a volume group on it with the root file system, and another couple of drives as well. This is, I think, is already quite a bit of content for this table, so we could think about how to structure it better and highlight better what belongs where, maybe make this expandable, etc. That we have talked about that. So let's start exploring with the things where the operating system is stored on here, this main drive. You can click on any of these things and you go to some new page, and there are lots of options here. And yeah, let's start here with the disk. Now you go to the page for this one Word.io disk. This looks pretty much like it always did, except you cannot expand these rows anymore and there are no tabs. The information that used to be in this expandable space here is now on a page by itself. So if we now, for example, look at a simple XFS file system, then you click on it and it looks like this. It tells you what it is. It's an XFS file system and it is stored on a partition of the Word.io disk, as expected. You will have to look a little bit more to find maybe the technical details that you're interested in, and all the order of things here is maybe not the best and the layout is not great. But yeah, you can see where this is going. So, and the idea is that we show a page for the content of something like the XFS file system, and then we extend that with information about the containers that it is on. But we stop before we go to the drive. So we don't show information about the drive here because that is on its own page here, but we show everything that is between the topmost content here and that drive, and in this case it's a partition. So this is already hinted at here. It says it's a partition of this disk, and here you find partition repeated, and this is the information about it. You could shrink and grow it if that would be possible, but it's not in this case. And of course, now we can start moving these buttons around, maybe here into the corner, like is tradition, and stuff like that. There could be a resize button, there could be an edit link here, or however we want to do it. We could have done that earlier, but I think now is a good time to do it, and it's all much more visible anyway. So let's go back to the disk. You see here the breadcrumb trail is also getting longer, and it shows the whole hierarchy that you could see in the table and that you can find here in the description. So let's go back here and look at this. This is now, it's a partition, but it is used as a LVM2 physical volume in this volume group. So if you click on this, then it tells us this is not a file system, but it's a physical volume. Sorry. And it's also stored on a partition. It's a different one, blah, blah. And here's the partition information again. But now here is the information about the physical volume and not about a file system. And one of these things is the link to the actual volume group that it is part of. It could be here in the title, maybe it could be somewhere else, but that's where it used to be actually. So then let's go further and look at the volume group. So you now see the breadcrumb trail resets, and all these groups and drives, they are always at the top level, and they're not below the Word.io disk now, although that would make sense in this case because there's only a single physical volume, but in general there can be many, and so there's not a defined place in the hierarchy where this should go. So we put them all at the top. And this is pretty much the old volume group page, except physical volumes are not on the side anymore, but they're now in their own card that goes over the whole page. And these are the old buttons. They're of course in the wrong place, and this should not be a plus. Maybe it should be a text like here. And I guess we can attack all of that one by one. But this one now contains a logical volume. It's called root, has an XFS file system, and is mounted here on root, of course. So let's click on that. And this is very similar to the boot file system that was on a partition. This is also an XFS file system. It's on a logical volume, not on a partition. And here the link goes back to the volume group, not to a disk. And you can see that's also here in the breadcrumb trail how it is, where it sits in the hierarchy. And the extra information now is about the logical volume, not about a partition. But it's the same kind of principle. We could move some buttons down here. For example, deactivate is an action that is specific to logical volumes. That could go here. Delete is also, of course, for the logical volume, not so much for the file system. Well, yeah. And it doesn't need to be this list with the labels on the left and information on the right. I think now we have all the freedom to make this nice here. So, yeah, all the actions here, of course, they work. This is, nothing has changed in the dialogues yet, except maybe the title somewhere to make it clearer what is happening when you're when you do it from the overview. Okay, maybe we play around a bit now and try to create new storage things. So we look at this now. This is an empty drive that has just been wiped, and Cockpit still says it's unrecognized data. Oops, let's go back. I think we should now really try to distinguish between empty block devices and something that is not empty but is not handled, not supported by Cockpit, because empty ones are quite common. You always end up with those when you delete stuff and initialize your partition table, etc. So there's nothing scary about it here, but I think it gives the wrong message. And we could even adapt the UI a little bit, because in this case, you see, if you click on this, it tells you it's unrecognized data. It's stored on this hard drive. And but if it would say, so there is something, there's some data here. Sorry, my voice. But if it would say empty or nothing here, that would be weird, that we have a page that represents nothing. So maybe we could make it so that in that case there is no row here in this hard drive when we know that it's empty. But then how do you format it? I don't know. Okay, anyway, let's click on this, unrecognized data, and let's say we want to make something really, really complicated. We want to make a stack of MD-RAID and encryption and LVM2 and then Stratis on top. Let's see if that all makes sense when we do it. First, you have to know that to create MD-RAID, you have to do it here from the overview. You cannot go to this thing and now say, okay, this is the one that I will want to work on, and I want to turn this now into some MD-RAID thing. You have to go to the overview and do it here, because you have to select more than one for this. So I think we should also try to somehow get rid of this duplication of our storage object lists, that we somehow do it from the overview, or, don't know. That would be nice, but it doesn't have to be done immediately, I think. So let's use these three things, create a RAID 5 on them. And now this all has changed. Now they're all RAID members of RAID 0. Let's see what it says. Okay, it's not unrecognized data anymore. It's a RAID member now. And it's stored here. And this is the RAID device that it belongs to. Let's look at that. That's pretty much the old one again. And here are the disks or physical volumes or whatever they're called for RAIDs. And this is the block device with the content. And to make it interesting, we create partitions on this. So now it is free space. Free space looks like you can click on it, but you cannot. So I don't think we should have a page for free space, but maybe we should. I don't know, it would then say free space on RAID 0, and you can create a partition in it. We don't mount it, we don't want a file system on it. It's going to be used for LVM, but we encrypt it because we can. So now it is here. It's still unrecognized because we didn't put a file system on it. And did we encrypt it? It should now tell us, so I guess. Ooh. There should be encryption information here. Well, I'll check that out, what has happened here. Let's create another partition on this RAID thing on the overview, and now we make it a file system. I hope that works. Yeah, that takes longer, huh? Did I somehow mess it up? Maybe there's a bug that we can't. Yo. Okay. So this is locked encrypted data because we didn't mount it. And this is again stored on a partition, but now on a RAID device. And here's information about the encryption. Here's the keys. I think they can be in their own card, maybe encryption keys. We can move that out. Maybe we can move out the whole encryption information to its own card. But encryption and file systems are really tightly integrated here in the UI. So maybe not. Let's unlock this quickly. So now we know that's an XFS file system. Yeah, let's go back to the RAID. And we want to create a logical volume on this. Again, we have to go back, create the volume. This was the thing that we wanted to use. And create it. Has appeared here, down there. Now this one says it's part of, it's a physical volume. Here, it's stored on a partition of the RAID thing, but it is a physical volume for V group 0. And it's a partition, so we could change the size here, except Cockpit doesn't know how to do that for physical volumes. Could be implemented, I guess. So here's the details page for the volume group. Again, that's pretty much the old one, except that the physical volumes are now in their big card here. And it doesn't have any logical volumes, so we create a new one. half the size for file systems. This is the new rate stuff is already here, but we only have one physical volume, so we can't do any of the nice things. We have to use this one now. And let's create it unrecognized, of course, but it knows everything about it. That's a logical volume, how it looks. Again, this is the information about how it is stored, and this is information about what is on it. Very quick file system creation on it. And now it's an XFS file system. Yo, let's make another one. In B group 0. The whole size. And now we put Stratus on this. Again, back here. Stratus pool. This is now the logical volume. Yeah, it's not great that you have to go and find it again, the thing that you have just created. So it would really be nice if you could do it from the place, from the page itself somehow. Get into this dialog maybe with this thing selected already or something like that. So here's the Stratus pool now. Again, same details page, only the block devices are now here full width. And we can create a file system on it. And let's have a name, let's mount it. Finally something that we can use. There it is. Oh, it's already almost full. Okay, so this one now uses the same code and the same structure as all the other tables, and it has to tell us that this is a Stratus file system. Let's go back, sorry. That it's a Stratus file system, but that's kind of obvious because this is a whole Stratus pool. So we would have to do some polish here and there, but little things. So now this also uses the UUID here at the top, and if you click on this one, the breadcrumb trail changes to the name. And yeah, lots of polish to be done. This is maybe not the most nicest device name. That's what it's called. And as you can see, this thing does now not even recognize that it's a Stratus file system. It tells us it's XFS, which it is, but we should hide that and really tell people this is a part of a Stratus pool. And then this one disappears here. That is just some code that has been written yet. Also here's some option cleanup. We don't need to show this. Yeah, but the basics I think are in place. If you go on the overview, it will tell you that this is the pool and this is the file system. So here it makes sense to call it Stratus file system. Yeah. Yeah, maybe this is all pretty obvious and nothing doesn't feel significant, but I had to struggle a bit to get it to this point because I guess I'm too close to the details and I didn't want to lose anything on the way. And yeah, but I think I got it now, and hopefully you all can join and start pointing out the little things that should be fixed, or the big things that just don't make any sense and that we need to improve. Okay, thanks a lot. That was a long one.